Hello, hello.
Oh, I can't hear you, sis. Can you hear me, sis? Hey, everybody. Well, my sister's getting loaded back up. As y'all know, we're doing our first segment of Wind Down with Real Women. So we're excited to get here and get started and talk about some topics that we know all y'all women, real women, are interested in hearing about. And we're going to keep it real today. I mean, that's what we're going to do. All that we ask is please, we're going to have a real fact-based discussion here today. I know as women we are emotional, and that's just our innate makeup. That's how God made us. But today we're gonna really speak on facts. So I ask that kind of leave your feelings, check your feelings at the door. We'll bring it back at the end. Gonna have a real solutions based discussion. But today it's gonna be really based on facts and not feelings. So don't come in here, don't be getting into your feelings because we gonna be stating facts. And everything that we're talking about here today is stuff that we've been through. So please don't think that we're talking from a perspective on something that we don't know about. Please don't think that we're trying to come from a perspective as if we're better than anybody. We both, I know me and my sister Sean have been through it, and I know I've been in the trenches and just barely pulling myself out. So I like, both of us just kind of want to share some gems that we've learned and kind of want to talk to y'all about something. This is going to be an interchange, a good platform for sister and for sisterhood and for us to get knowledge and learn from each other. I see my sister Sean is back here, so I'm going to let you kind of give your intro.
Awesome. I am S. Fit Fashion, S. for short, and I am married, and I have one child, and I work in corporate America, and I have tons of life experience. I feel like I'm a bit of an expert in that area for myself, not for other people. But we look forward to having this dialogue with women who are at various stages of their life. And we're not at all the stages, so we definitely want to make sure that we open the floor for women who have additional experiences and things like that. And we want to make sure that, we're being inclusive. And although it's, with real women, women, I don't want to exclude anybody. So if you feel like you a real one, okay, you make sure that you show up and you show out and support us as, we're going on this platform and celebrating women, empowering women, and encouraging them to be their best selves. All right. So we want to get into the first topic, which is we want to pose a question. Is masculinity in women the problem or the solution? Mova, I see you smiling over there.
Well, I laugh when you said that because we constantly talking about this, and I know my sister hates. She hates the term masculinity. She hates femininity. She just want us both to go to hell. But I think it's important that we speak on it because I'm hearing it too much. I'm hearing it all over the manosphere. It's like that's the new term. You know how these trendy terms come out, and people just want to flock to. So at one time, being healed and being woke, those are the trendy terms. So now it's like the trendy term.
What was it? Toxic masculinity?
Yes,
like that. That was a hot term for a while.
Girl, yeah, so that's the hot term. So it's like everybody is flocking to that. But I don't think there's a clear understanding of what masculinity is, what toxic masculinity exactly is. And so I wanted to speak on that. I would love for people in the comments, if you guys' opinion differ from mine, different from my sister's here, please let us know, what you're interpreting this masculinity and toxic masculinity is. I'm just going to give my take on it. Growing up as what the manosphere or what people consider or what I'm hearing that people are considering to be masculinity, I did grow up with like that energy, and that's somewhat of what I was taught, kind of the dudes ain't shit type of mentality. And I will say it's a curse that is difficult to break. And so I know that that's one of like the main pillars that they, and I have to say pillars because it's like they just describe to like, oh, that's the whole problem with women, this masculinity. So that's kind of like one of the main pillars, the main reasons, that they ascribe as women being masculine. But what I'd like to really touch on is the masculine energy that you're receiving. Is it something that you provoke? And do you know how to have a woman flourish in her femininity and flourish in her feminine energy? I'm wondering, do these people that are constantly commenting on it, do you guys realize that a woman is not going to display feminine energy? A woman is not going to flourish in her femininity unless she feels secure, unless she feels protected, and unless she feels like that she's in a space where she can be vulnerable enough to allow her feminine energy to flourish. I know for me, and I can only speak from my perspective, like I said, I grew up kind of grandfather into that line of thinking. And it was very difficult for me to, kind of step back and start giving off that feminine energy because I had always had to be in defense mode. And I think sometimes as Black women, we a lot of times have to be in defense mode. We always, have to be independent. We have to be strong. And I think we all get to a point where it's like, I'm tired of being strong. I consider myself a strong woman, but I don't want to always have to be strong. Like sometimes I need some help. I don't want to have to always carry the load. I'm tired. My back is tired. I'm tired of always seriously, I'm tired of always having to carry everybody's stuff. So, just innately, I was always in defense mode. I was never taught, how to, be feminine and how to, in essence, be able to rely on a man, and feel in a space where I felt secure and protected, where I could just, kind of almost sit back and allow my femininity to flourish. Because as women, that's not anything we have to be taught. That's something that innately we were God given. We have femininity. That's our DNA. That's our genetic makeup. We have femininity as well as we have masculine. We both have those qualities. Of course, femininity is more dominant in women. So that's something innately. We don't need the manosphere to teach us how to do that. That's something that we innately have. But it's not going to flourish unless we're in a space where we feel secure and we feel confident, and we feel protected. So I would much rather like to see the manosphere and all these platforms talk about how they can help women to feel secure enough and how they can help women to feel like that they're in a space where they can allow their femininity to flourish rather than harping on the masculine behavior. I would like to see a more like solution-based conversation because that's the piece that I never hear come up. It's always about why women are toxic, why women are masculine, why they have this toxic masculinity. I think they beat a dead horse on the reasons that they believe the trait is here now. I would really like to see more of a solutions-based conversation. And for me and my experience, like I said, it just took me, of course, therapy and doing the work and all those things, but it really took me kind of changing my mindset and kind of getting out of this strong, independent Black woman mode, which a lot of us are taught that too. You got to get it for yourself. You got to be able to handle everything. And it took me kind of getting out of that mode and realizing that I had a good man that I could rely on. And that by me, kind of being, exercising my strength and trying to lead the household, in essence, I was almost emasculating my husband. And so it took me. And so that I figured out that was kind of one of the consequences of me, kind of exhibiting, this, I hate to say the word, but masculine energy as they refer to it. Like, in a sense, I was really like, that was an implication of me displaying that. I was like emasculating my husband. I was making him not feel worthy enough, like to lead our household. And so I had to really take a step back and kind of get to a space of vulnerability and recognize those issues that I had that, I had grew up knowing that. And I think at some point you have to realize that everything that you were taught as a child, maybe even everything that you were taught in the church, you might need to reevaluate it and see if that is good for yourself. And so that was, kind of a lot of the work that I had to do to get to a space where I could flourish in my femininity. And forgive me, I didn't introduce myself like my sis did. I do have 5 kids. So I'm at home and they're in the background doing their thing. So forgive me if y'all hear a little bit of that in the background.
And good morning. And hi, Niambi. Hi, Niambi. How are you doing today? So I kind of want to backtrack just a little bit because I think words matter. Okay. I'm a words person. Okay. So I want to kind of break down what the divine feminine and what the divine masculine looks like. Okay. So I want to go through some attributes. And most times people feel like these things are, well, let me just say this. One, as human beings, we are both divine feminine and divine masculine. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because some people try to separate it as a gender based type of thing, like only women have, you know, only women have, feminine, divine feminine. Only men have divine masculine, which isn't true. Okay, so I'm just going to, I have some notes. And so I just kind of want to go over that, because when we describe these attributes of what masculine is and what feminine is, we kind of need to define what that kind of looks like as far as the attributes go. And some of those things that women possess, or not even women, humans, let's just say humans. So some of the things that are divine feminine are being intuitive, having compassion, being wise, accepting, collaborative, reflective, creative, sensual, kind, gentle, heart-centered. Those are kind of the attributes of divine feminine. And divine masculine is risk-taking, assertiveness, action-oriented, discipline, boundaries, confidence, objectivity, logic, and analysis. Warrior, it's the yang, okay? Because divine feminine is the yin. So, and also survival, right? A lot of times, when depending on how you grow up or any childhood trauma or anything, you may have more or less. The thing about it is there has to be a balance, because from a perspective from a woman, I want my husband to be collaborative. I want him to be accepting and forgiving. I want him to have those attributes. I also, for myself as a woman, especially in, while I'm working or corporate America or in any certain spaces, I have to be analytical. I have to take risks. I have to have confidence and things like that. And I think we blur the lines in these things, like it's one or the other, and when it's actually like both. And we have to realize that we are both exuding these energies. And sometimes, now I'm not saying some people are all feminine, right? They just possess all of these things, and they have a man that's all masculine. And when you put those things together, they may work. Okay. But you still have to have a balance within that dynamic. And you're going to evolve as a person, as a woman, as all of those things. So you have to make sure that you are maintaining who you are as a person within your relationship and meeting the needs of your significant other. I think, and I actually I use my masculine energy. Okay. You're not going to be the same person in certain situations. I know some people think that you're supposed to be consistent throughout all of your groups, and that's just not realistic. So the way I am with my daughter is not the same way I'm going to be with my husband. The same way I'm with my husband is not the same way I'm gonna be with my girlfriends. So all of those energies are balancing within themselves, and I feel like we have to be really, really open and wise to how to utilize those. Now, you can will your femininity to pull a man in, because by nature, women are very sensual. We know how to use that. We know how to, make ourselves available and open. And I think those are some of the attributes that men are looking for, maybe when they're looking for a mate. But also, a man wants his woman to be wise, but he wants her to be disciplined too, because, if you got a mate that's all over the place, you want a person who is disciplined too. You want them to be assertive, because they need to know what their needs are. How can I, as a woman, really tell you what I want if I haven't did any exploratory work? And so I think it's really wise for women and men to kind of understand what those dynamics look like. Some men are like, well, I don't want a masculine woman. So you don't want a woman that's disciplined. You don't want a woman that understands risk taking. You don't want a woman that's confident, because that's what you're saying when you say you don't want certain things in a woman. And I feel like, everybody is not going to. There's somebody for everybody. Okay. So I don't think bless you, masculinity is a problem. I think it could be a solution. And I think too much of any one of those things is the problem. If you are too much of a pushover in your relationship, you will lose your sense of self. If you are too aggressive in your nature as a woman, then you could push some people away and it can be off-putting.
But
Okay.
my question with that is, so it's like, why if I'm standing up for myself, why does that have to be seen as being masculine? That's not necessarily masculine energy. Like females, if we go back and look in the history, basically, females were warriors. Like females were the ones that were on the front lines, you know, warriors, queens, they were doing all. So why does it have to be, if I'm standing up for myself, or if, you know, I'm being fervent on my values, why does that have to be considered masculine energy? No, that's part of, that might be the dominant piece of my femininity. But, you know, you guys want the femininity, that's all you guys speak on. You guys, they only speak on the good attributes of it, or on the things that they deem as good things. Anything that's contrary to their agenda of women, you know, keeping their mouth shut and doing what they say and just sucking dick, then, you know, it's a problem. Then it's a problem. You know, I think they need to understand that those are still aspects of women's femininity. Just because I stand up for myself, just because I'm not a yes woman, and like you said, I'm not. Exactly. If that's the type of woman y'all looking for, it's somebody for everybody. The thing about my thing is, if y'all want a yes woman, just say that. Just say that. If that's what you're looking for, because hey, it's some sisters out there, and I'm not knocking any of my sisters. I don't discourage anybody. That's what they into, and they're okay with that. They're okay with not really having an opinion. They're good with all those things, and so that's fine. But if that's what you're looking for, say that. Say I'm looking for a yes woman. You know, don't try to demonize, you know, women that stand up for themselves. I do think, like you mentioned, and that's with anything though. Too much of anything, it can be a bad thing. You know, too much. We all love sugar, we all love all this stuff. It's great. But too much of it can be a bad thing. It can have harmful effects. So, like you said, kind of, you know, having too much masculine energy can be a lot. But I don't think that everything that they're deeming masculine is necessary. So that's somewhat a little bit of I have a problem with their rhetoric. Why does it have to be masculine? You know, or why are you now considered aggressive if I don't agree with everything that you say? Like, I
mean, I really think that, like I said, objectivity, like that's important. I think being able to stand up for yourself, that's something you would instill into your daughters. Okay. You don't want them to be a pushover or anything like that. So I think that you should definitely make sure, you know, like instill that into your kids, instill that to yourself. Yeah. And I don't think anything is wrong with that. My thing is the context is like, you know, women need to shut up, or they need to be soft because we think femininity is soft.
It's soft. Yeah, that's the problem.
It's not soft all the time. You know, it's going to vary. When you have to do the work, that is some tough stuff. When you're giving birth and stuff like that, and your body is going through those changes and you're producing a miracle, like you're literally a miracle walking. And so I feel like we need to collaborate together instead of, you know, you need to be this way and you need to be that way. And let me just say, I feel like married people need to get out of single folks' business. Dude. Now, how they run, you know what I'm saying? Well, married folks got a lot to say about how, you know, single people carry themselves or whatever. I feel like if you are a person who's wanting to get married, of course, you need to align yourself with people who are on that track. If you are not, who are you to tell a woman what she needs to do? My thing is, a lot of people always throw around like Lori Harvey, her name, and how she's going around the world or want to call her names and things like that. Sis is single, so I don't think any married man should have an opinion about a single woman.
Yes. Why are y'all that concerned? Keyword is single. Just like Sarah. Why are y'all that concerned about this married woman? Baby, that's Russell's woman. Why are y'all so concerned? Why are y'all so concerned about Russell? Baby, this man is not interested. Man, this man is not concerned at all. This man has
Right.
$7 million. He's doing, and not only that, not that it's just about money. Like, this man is a well-rounded guy. He's
Right.
always doing things in the community. He's very smart. He bought stock for Future, and he bought stock for Little Future, for all of Future's kids. You know, he set up like a college fund, you know, like kind of all these things. So he makes the right moves. He's uplifting the Black community. So I never have understood what the fixation on that is. You know, he's married. Him and Sierra, that's their business. Sierra got Russell, and Russell got Sierra. This man said his biggest fear in life is Sierra leaving him. So his stuff is tight. He's good.
So I know they like to throw around names and all that stuff. So we're not going to do that here, okay? Because we have some respect, okay, for people and their choices, okay? Because that's a decision that people made, and it is what it is. So what I will say is, if you are struggling, because we want to provide solutions, okay? So if you are struggling with your divine feminine, these are some things or some tips that will help you along the way. I'm gonna give you like 2 seconds while I sip my it's kind of early for alcohol, so I have a little smoothie. You know, I had to make it cute. You know,
I'm here for it.
Okay, so the first tip is to reclaim your rest. Okay. Now, sometimes as women, we are everything for everyone, and we don't take the time to rest. Go get your little hotel room. Okay. Deck it out. Get some sleep. Okay. Let husband, if you have that, let whoever your tribe is, because I'm not, you know, there's single women, even single men. This is for men need to have rest too. Okay. So I think it's important for you to learn how to rest. The second one is embrace your sensitivity. Men always feel like, feelings is not important. Feelings kind of guide your decisions in a way, not men all the time, but I'm just saying, like, you have this logic, right? You've did all of the things, and you making a decision, but it's still an emotion. It's still an emotion attached to that, even if you're going to call it, I don't have no feelings. If you're going by your gut or your intuition on what move, that is a form of an emotion that you're using. Also, practice self-love. Get in touch with your dreams. If there's things that you want to do, write out a plan. Also, incorporate some yin. Okay, if you know anything about yin and yang and what is it called? Feng shui in your home. Maybe your home is like cluttered or something like that. A way to tap into your divine feminine is cleaning and refreshing your space. I would also prioritize me time. Take yourself out on the date if you're a single woman, okay? You need to know how it is to be alone, because some women struggle with just being alone and just wanting a body, okay?
And they end up settling.
Okay, tap into your intuition. Sometimes your first mind is the right mind, okay? Sometimes we second guess in a form of not being in your too much of your femininity is indecisiveness, because you're swaying too much. So sometimes just take some time to kind of think about, you know, what you want to do, what's right for you in your heart. Also, go within. A lot of times we are trying to use we can use our hair and our makeup and all these external things, but sometimes it's really good to kind of just go within yourself and figure out what it is that you truly want for yourself in and outside of a relationship, in and outside of a marriage, in and outside of your title as a wife or a mom, in and outside of your job, because some people, you know, title themselves with their, you know, as their job. Women also need to have divine masculine, because that is a way for them to have self-discipline, and everyone needs self-discipline, whether it's in your eating, whether it's in exercise, whether it's in your mental state. You do need to have a form of discipline. You want to be confident. So those are some, you can affirm yourself through daily affirmations, things like that. You want to take risk. Okay. Sometimes it's okay it's not sometimes. It's okay to ask a man out on a date. Okay. So, you know, you can put your hat in the bag by being, you know, standing out. Sometimes we want men to do all the work, but there's nothing wrong with a woman doing some work herself. Okay. You don't have to finish it, but you can start it. Ain't
They
nothing
low
wrong with
key,
that.
men love that. Men love. That's why it kills me. Men love an assertive woman. Men love that. So it's like, you guys are saying all these things, but if men are really honest with themselves, a man, I know my husband loves that. Like sometimes he'll come home and I just have like everything set up. I have dinner cooked. I'll put like roses on the floor before, like just set up everything. And he was like, so it was like it blew his mind. But men like secretly love it. They like a woman that's assertive. Just like,
Right.
and we won't go too much into the bedroom, but they talk about that in the bedroom, how they like a woman that's assertive. But so you guys only want us to be assertive in certain aspects. And I like too that you touched on, we didn't speak too much on it, but about in corporate America. Like we are Black women. We have to be assertive at work. We have to display what you guys call masculine energy at work. I know I'm one of 5 Black people at my job out of like 175 people, and I have to manage those people. So I have to assert, what you guys refer to as masculine energy, which is not. It's just being assertive. It's just being,
Because that's your role at the time of day, right?
Exactly. So that's why I like that you touched on. But the way and the energy that I give at work, no, it's certainly not the same energy that I give with my husband. Well, unless I need to.
Sometimes you gotta tap in.
There are certain
we also wanted to we want to let the audience know that if you want to join our conversation, the link is at the top of the comments in YouTube. Okay, so just make sure that you tap on that so you can come on in and give us your feedback and join us. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I want to add. Okay, I want to introduce Niambi onto the platform. Hello.
Hi.
And did I pronounce your name correctly? Is it Niambi?
Yeah, you did.
Niambi, I love that. That is so pretty. Is it a meaning behind it?
It's beautiful. I love your name.
Yes. It's Niambi Shalee, and it means melody, and Shalee means love.
Oh, I love that.
I love it.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
And I'm feeling that too, sis, baby. That color is giving me everything I need.
Thank you.
I'm
feeling both of y'all appearance, period. I'm like, okay, they looking all cute today.
You
just a little bit.
Come on, sis.
Okay.
So before we switch topics, Niambi, share your perspective on, is masculinity a problem, or is it a part of the solution as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, like what you were saying, and I just got into this maybe 3 years ago. What you were saying about masculine, we are both. We all, even men, and they don't maybe don't understand it, but we are all both. So we all have a divine feminine and masculine side. And I think it was something you said about it comes in or out due to your nurturing. It was something that, can you say your name? Is it Muva?
It's Mother.
Like
mother, but
Mother. Oh, okay. Like your mother.
Where's your
love it. I love that because we be cracking up when we hear that accent. Okay.
Yes, mother.
But you said, I think you said something as early on. You emasculated your husband by overusing your dominance and your aggressiveness or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think I did that. I've never been married, so let me state that. But I did that early on in life, and I was winning by doing that. And so I stuck to that because I thought that it was all about winning. So once I had to tap into, I've always been very feminine on the appearance side, but as far as my attitude, what's up?
What?
So yeah. and with my man, with my man, I was absolutely like that, and I had to reel myself by learning about the two areas of divine feminine and masculine, and learning what that is and what that looks like, and I think I was more like that because I was stay at home. I was in the home. I was taking care of home. And so I was only able to give it to the people that were at home. When I got into the workforce, I was like, I needed it there. So that's when I got back to myself with the self-love and the being content and understanding, you know, you can be by yourself. You don't have to have a mate and all of these things you both of you guys were speaking of. I was like blown away because everyone, that was one of my notes, is everyone at some point in life has to learn these things. It's just a learning experience that we all have. And this is more warm and fuzzy what we're talking about, but it's an experience that I think everybody should get at the end of the day, before they leave this earth, is that they get that we do have both sides and too much of either side. I mean, being too soft, being a yes woman, that's gonna get you in trouble too. You know, even if it's not you know, in a big way, you still run the risk of becoming, you know, completely subservient and not even knowing how to do anything without a mate. And so yeah, I was like, I'm feeling.
Men love to say they love, like, I love a strong woman.
But do you really?
But what does that look like? You know, like, I love a strong, because some men were in these single parent homes, so they actually want something that looks like, if they have a decent relationship with their mom, something that reflects that. And so, you know, but that could come from trauma. She's single. Something happened where she's not married, whether it was a death of a spouse or, you know, she chose, you know, her child livelihood and being and safety over a toxic man or anything like that. So I think it's important that men kind of figure out what that looks like. That's why I kind of wanted to break down what those look like and kind of define that we are both of those things, and it's okay. Don't think you're less of a man because you give some divine feminine, because it is needed. You know, it's needed you wouldn't be so, you know, hard and cold to your daughter, right? Because you want her to understand and accept a man who's loving her. There's a lot of women out here who don't recognize gentleness from a man because they're so used to getting hammered, you know, by a man, and you should be able to do this and you all that pressure, and it's just unnecessary at the end of the day. So I just wanted to, you know, like, at least put the definitions out there so people can at least kind of get an understanding of what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, even to the opposite of what you said, there are some men that were raised in a single parent household, and so their mom was just very masculine, and sometimes it's just as a product of having to be that strong and having to raise kids by yourself and all that good stuff, and they didn't necessarily like it, and so then you end up with them being very like against, you know, a woman that they consider to be too strong or to be too masculine. But I think we all kind of more on the solutions base. I think we all have things that we need to heal from. You know, and I used to say this, and I realized that it was very aggressive, so I had to stop saying it. Like, don't come to me with no problems that your mom should have fixed. That's your mama's problem. And I get it is very aggressive. I shouldn't say it like that. But the way that what I'm meaning to say is, don't, you know, it's difficult, and we, you know, we're all humans. We all bring childhood traumas into relationships, but I think women are more willing to go and do the work and get the help and heal from those things. And I think men, especially Black men in particular, you know, are always, you know, there's a stigma that Black men always have to be so strong, and that you don't have to get in touch with your feelings. You don't need to heal from traumas. You don't need to go to therapy, you know, and do all those things. And even in the Black community, for men and women, we have this thing, oh, just pray about it. You know, it'll be fine. Just pray about it. Pray to God. He's going to fix it for you. Yeah, and I'm a believer. I believe all those things. But at the same time, I do believe that therapy is necessary. You know, I do believe that we all need to do the work. And I believe that men have those same type of childhood traumas that women have. You know, like I said, in the ministry, they always speak to, oh, these ladies grew up in the men ain't shit, you know, like era. And a lot of men grew up with single mothers, you know, and it may not have been the best relationship, and they may have seen what toxic masculinity looks like. So that has just made them so overly opposed to strong women or any of those qualities that they perceive their mom as having that they didn't like. So I think we all kind of go from a solutions-based perspective. We all need to do the healing. We all need to do the work. And I like that you talked about, sis, you know, that do these things before you get into a relationship. Do these things kind of along your journey. Figure out how to be happy with yourself. Figure out how to make yourself whole. And then, you know, kind of proceed into a relationship. And dating along the way, I think all that good stuff is great. But I almost feel like, you know, sometimes it's difficult when we bring, and I know I've had this experience with myself. My husband and I have been together for 12 years, married for 10. And I know we both brought a lot of childhood traumas into our marriage and into our relationship. And of course, mine, I think because just as women, we're just more open, you know, to doing therapy, to doing the work. So of course, mine were kind of realized.
Men are coming up. Let me before they start slamming. Let me go ahead and say,
I'm not slamming them at all. I want to say, you know,
men are on the rise.
So what happened with our situation? We did marriage counseling. And so that's when a lot of my husband's childhood traumas came out. But I applaud my husband because the fact that he was even willing to do marriage counseling. And so that's when a lot of his childhood traumas came out. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they are coming along. It's just that, you know, in the Black community, like I said, it's with men and women, but particularly with men. You know, they're seen as that you have to be so strong that you don't necessarily. A lot of Black men aren't really in touch with their feelings. I'm glad that it is coming a long way, but you know, I think we have a ways to go.
Yep,
I do. I want to go ahead, Nyami.
There was I'm gonna bring up Black Man Unfiltered because you know we're here. He says a lot. He uses the phrase son husbands, and I think I just wanted to touch on that, and I hope there's an understanding that when you're raising a Black man as a single parent, and I'm saying this, I don't have any children, so I'm saying this from examples that I've seen. When you're raising a Black man by yourself with no one, the mother is trying to make up for the father not being there. So she is pouring into him. And yes, eventually, I mean, that's biblical. Even Mary, when she invited Jesus to the wedding, you know, why didn't she have Joe with her? You know? So, I mean, I probably took that in a kind of weird way, but you understand what I'm saying. It's because I heard a sermon like that, and I just wanted to like reach that. But yes, that woman is trying to make up for that absentee father. So she doesn't know how to be a man and, you know, give that discipline that maybe a man might give. So she does how she's built up is to nurture. Is it right? Now we're learning, okay, that's not. Maybe we need to get these little boys some mentors and some big brothers and stuff like that. But they definitely need a man in their life, just like women. Women need a male component. They need a male component. Like a lot of women are struggling from absentee fathers. I had a father. So that's it. So, and I have 4 brothers. So when I came out the gate, it was like I had to
feel to the brim. Like I know what it is. You was put on game.
Game. Okay. So it was like I'm not letting my daddy, I'm not letting my brothers see this man run over me, which so many women do.
Yeah.
Right.
Did I do the right thing? No. I learned that the way that I was treating my man and emasculating him was not the right thing. But I just wanted to say that in that regard about the son husband. Women don't know how. And if that man is separate and he is absentee, she's doing the best she knows how to do and how she's structured. What the makeup of a woman, women carry children. You have to be close and nurturing. Yes. And they never carried another human being in their body. So we're built up to be close and loving and nurturing. And so I think she's doing what she knows to do.
And I just want to touch on this because sometimes we see our mothers going through, which will turn on that masculine switch really fast because we don't want to experience what mom experienced. Maybe she you know, had a lot of different mates, or maybe you saw her being abused coming up, or maybe you saw her not being assertive, or whatever the case may be. My mom was raised with two parents, but I was raised with just her and my grandparents. So I still had a village, but I still had a void from not having my father. And I had to figure out what type of man, and it was based off of the things that I experienced. I was like, ooh, I don't want that. It was a trial and error. And I didn't have a man or even, you know, a good friend that I could be like, okay, I could look to. I did have a best friend that was a male, but he was raised by a single mother. So he had, you know, more of a feminine type of mindset. He was very masculine, but he still like he could be compassionate and empathetic to me as a woman, because he get it, because he had that information from his mom. My husband, on the other hand, 2-parent home. But, you know, sometimes even if you're in a 2-parent home, that does not mean you are excluded from mommy and daddy issues, because those dynamics can be very tricky too. You could have your mom being very silent, okay, and letting the man run the show, and he could be loud and wrong. And you will sit there and watch your mama be silent, and then you become the silent woman, or you become too loud because you didn't learn how to assert yourself. Your mom didn't show you that you could still, you know, assert yourself in certain situations. Oh, she letting him be a man. But my thing is, even behind closed doors, I think I'm more prone to check a woman behind closed doors than out on public like that. So that's just how I roll. Like if I see something, I'm not gonna put you on blast like that, but I'm gonna be like, hey sis, let me pull it to the side. Let me pull you to the side. Let's have a dialogue. I just want to know where your head is at. But sometimes in those dynamics with women, you see, you know, I told my husband, I love his mom. She is sweet. She mind her business, and we get along great. But I can see those dynamics, how I'm like, okay, we have to create our own, because whatever you learned at home doesn't always mix with what I learned from home. So we're trying to blend. So you're still a blended family, even if it's just two people, because you're blending both of your backgrounds together. So anything else before we hit this next topic on masculinity? So I say no, it's not an issue, but too much of a bad thing can be a bad thing on both sides. We both have to have a balance of divine feminine and divine masculinity.
Yeah, I think and everything I think we covered. I think we, you know, kind of talked through, you know, those terms, like the overuse of those terms, that's been the trendy thing. But I think you summed it up well. Like anything that's too much, it has to have balance on both sides. So I think it's unrealistic, you know, this conversation of women not having any masculinity at all. Like it's not realistic.
What is this, more Tanika? I was raised in a single mother home, but my mom had boyfriends, and I seen her be submissive to the wrong men, which caused me to do the same thing. And that's what we're talking about. Too much. You know, you see all of that, and women aren't being, because sometimes women don't want to be by themselves. Yeah. You know, and so you just choose
these. You to settle. Yeah.
Right.
It's a warm body.
We got some guys in the chat, and I just wanted to say, and they can chime in when they get a chance. But I wanted to know, you know, why do Black men appreciate their strong Black mothers? You know, my mama disciplined me, did this, did that, all of that. They appreciate that so much, but don't appreciate, you know, the strong Black woman to them. It's like they only, and this is just my ideology, it's like they only want that woman
exception for moms
to the children, or they only want the woman to be strong at the workplace. They don't want a woman to be strong when it comes to them, or to make a decision based on what he's actually showing her. So that was a question. I hope the guys get a chance to chime in on that, but we can go forward.
Yes. So, okay. I like where she's going with that, because that's out of order. Okay. Well, are you referring to the umbrella about the children submitting to the mother?
Yeah.
I think that's what he's talking about. And I understand that. I think men want to feel like men. Like, and I'm like, you a man already. So however you feel about yourself, I should not be dictating your
Yes, but I think a man too has to
your
be
security.
secure
You know,
enough.
like
Yeah.
that's self-esteem.
That's profound. That's profound.
Yeah,
you don't need me to validate you as a man.
Because you don't want me to, I don't want to be that, like, I don't want to have validation from a man. Like, both of us need to be secure within ourselves when we come into this union and together, because too much of something, it causes codependency. So do you want me to be dependent on you, or you want me to be interdependent? Because those are two different terms.
And that's why I was saying, like, during the work before you get to these relationships, I saw a thing that said, "Oh, Black women don't submit to men." Yes, we do, but you have to be a man. You have to be a man. You have to be secure in yourself. I'm not trying to validate. Like I said, that's why I said I know, and so that's why I don't say it anymore. I know that was aggressive, but don't bring me issues that you haven't dealt with. Don't bring me issues that are things that your mom should have dealt with. Like, don't bring that to me. Do the work for yourself. Like, and so don't. And I would say ideally, yeah, you have to be a man. You guys want to have the conversation about, oh man, so what are you doing? Are you secure as a man? Do you feel like a man? Because I will stand by this. I feel like when people have to project and when people over project, it's because they don't feel secure. And when they're over projecting this masculinity, because men can exhibit toxic masculinity too. And so I feel like sometimes when they're over projecting, it comes from an insecurity. When you're over projecting on your household and, oh, my wife got to do this, my wife may not do nothing that I don't say. I feel like it comes from a space of you not being secure as a man. Because I feel like
control, like just trying to get control because you don't have internal self-control yourself. So you try to do all these external things.
So to try to prove, that you're a man. If you're secure, if you're confident, in yourself as a man and in your own masculinity, you don't have to do all those things. My husband he don't talk to me crazy out in public. He don't do any of those things. But at the end of the day, I respect him. And I respect him as a man because he's secure in his masculinity. And so he doesn't have to display outwardly to everybody else, oh, I got my wife and my wife is in check, my wife is under my control, any of that stuff. Because he knows that at the end of the day, he is respected as a man, like in our household. And so I would say,
I think Snuggles 668, is there something such as toxic femininity? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It is. It does exist.
Yeah.
My thing is, how do you determine if a woman is confident or not? That's a good question. What do you feel like confidence is, Niambi?
Oh, confidence at 20 is a totally different meaning at the age I am.
That's right.
Okay.
At the age you are 25.
Okay. So I just feel like a lot of experience that men pull on right now today is they're referring to when we were learning, when they were learning. So let's accept that for what it is and then move forward today. Okay, so now I know. Hopefully you're getting an understanding and as a man, and so let's go forward. A lot of guys are pulling on and I see it all the time. Well, she did this, she did that. Why are we still hanging on to that? Because you haven't worked through it. And so confidence, going back to the original question, confidence at 20 was cocky as hell. I'm not
humility. None.
I'm not gonna lie. Zero. Was cocky as hell. I'm it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've always been a confident woman, but now today, my confidence exudes itself, and I don't have to say a word.
Yes.
I don't have to say anything. When I walk into the room, I command what I came to get.
Right.
Yes.
So confidence today is an action, so to speak, and it's not an attitude that I have or or even at 20, it was like, if you didn't show me what I know that I deserve, I'll tell you. But today it's not that. It's so confidence is so subtle.
It is. I love it.
I think that's the same for me. It's silent but powerful at the same time, and it is not self-seeking. Right. You're not trying to look on the out. What Brianna, right on time. You're not trying to look on the outside for things. You just are. You just exist, and you are enough. Like, you understand that you are enough at all times, even on your worst day.
Yes,
you are enough.
Yeah. Yes. And I think I have the same. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think I have kind of some of that same, and it's taken me like a while. It came to me to a sense of worthy and a sense of being worthy, of the type of love and feeling. And I think to me that goes back to confidence, feeling like I'm enough, and feeling like I'm worthy of love, and feeling like I'm worthy, of being treated, the right way. So it came down to me to worthiness, and I like that you guys kind of, pointed out, it's not anything about validating other people, because when I was young, and I love, Naomi, that you talked about like the journey. I had the same thing when I was younger. Confidence to me was about nails and hair and makeup, and that I was going to be on point, and have everything together, and, kind of that kind of thing. And how many people were sliding in my DMs, and how, that kind of thing. And that's what
it was an air, right?
Yeah, it was an air. And that's what I valued it as. And even, and this is toxic, and this is probably an example of toxic femininity. How many girls, man, I could get to look at me, or to like say, or to approach me. And unfortunately, it was toxic. It was toxic femininity. And unfortunately, like, that's how I gauge, like, oh, and if I had a problem with a woman, and this is really toxic femininity, like, okay, well, you better watch your man, because, I don't have to say one word to you. I'm going to get your man. And so it was, and all of that was rooted, but that made me feel confident. It made me feel like, oh, I can take her, I can do any of this stuff. When, in actuality, a man is gonna, if he's not a good man, if he's not realizing where he should be, a man is gonna sleep with anything, or he gonna talk to, whatever comes along. So
it wasn't nothing special.
It was nothing special, but I said that kind of as a two-part answer, because I know people were talking about what is toxic femininity, and that's a prime example of what toxic femininity was. And like I said, I'll be honest, but again, this was, like in college, and I'm glad that, I've been able to do work and to evolve from that. And so now none of those things, nothing like that validates me. The only, compliment or anything like that I'm looking for is from my husband. That's it. So none of that outside stuff validates me. It's all like an internal thing. And knowing that I'm willing to fight. And like you said, back in the day, you would get in people's face and make it now, if you don't realize my worth, if you don't realize, like, you're just not who I need to, like, I've realized, come to understand that I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. And so if there's somebody that doesn't realize my worth, I'm not going to get in your face. I'm not going to try to make you realize my worth. I'm just not going to deal with you. I'm just not. I'm at a place where I only care to be around people that recognize my worth and that make me feel that validate me. That's it. That's it.
There was a video, I don't know if y'all saw it, that was kind of viral, and it's about a woman who said, the only thing, and this is leading into the next topic. The next question is, do women keep each other accountable? Do women keep each other accountable? Okay. Yeah. So this young lady was on her platform. Her name is She's a Fool via IG, or I Am Delilah King. Mm-hmm. And just a little context, because it's blowing up now, but she made that video a year ago. Okay. And so the video was basically stating that I don't have anything to offer a man except for vagina. That's what she had an epiphany about. So she sat there in her car and she was like, I'm frustrated. I am bitter. I am all of these things. These are I statements. So this was directly towards herself. It was a self-realization that, you know what? I'm asking for a man to be all these things to me. And she explained in her video about she was a cap and the man was a bottle. So anytime, you cannot fill a cap with a whole bottle, and vice versa. He needs his bottle filled and you only a cap. So I do feel like Black women hold each other accountable? I fix crowns in silence.
I love it. Okay? You don't have to tell everybody you fixed it.
No, I don't, because I want you to shine radiant in your own, and I don't want to have to. Some people feel like they need to take credit for whatever they did to help other people, and I'm not that. That's an ego thing. So I'm trying to kill the ego so I can be a better person for myself and other people. But what I want, like, what are you all's perspective on that? Because I do feel like we do hold each other accountable. I know my best friends are like, girl, I'll tell them my little story, even if it's about, like, say me and my husband got in a little spat. And I'm like, girl, blah, 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 blah. And she'll be like, well, Sean, did you figure out, like, you didn't do this right, or you could have done this better, or you can find a better way to. I've been on the phone with her and my husband will say something and she'll be literally in my ear and like, breathe. Don't say that back. Like, just because, I know where I can go. He know where I can go, but are we going to mess up the chemistry of the home over something that's so small and insignificant? And sometimes you need those little reminders that, there's a better way to handle things. I have my Rachel Ray is in here. That's one of my good girlfriends. Ooh. And she has checked me before too. Okay. So I appreciate you, sis, because I do feel like Black women will hold each other accountable. Will every Black woman receive that? They may not be ready. That's my thing. Sometimes women aren't ready to accept correction, just like men aren't ready to accept correction. So what's your Niambi, what's your thought process on, do Black women hold each other accountable?
I have to say this, and I use this word a lot, that is situational. In my life, I have always been like the oldest one around my crew. I hate to say this, but it's really true. I didn't hang with women for a very long time because I was like, for what? But the women that were and that did touch my life were the girls that, my peers. When they would come in, I would have to tell them, see, I had like having 4 brothers makes you a target for women. So it's like you just hanging around me to, get with my brother. So but when I got to those places with women, every step of the way, when I knew that they were doing something that I deemed that's just not right, I would tell them. I remember when getting the abortion money from the man, but you weren't pregnant. I remember those. And I was like, girl, don't do, I was telling them, I would tell my girlfriend, do not do that, because karma don't play and you'll be pregnant for real in the next couple months. And I promise you, she was. I spoke of a situation where I had been friends with a younger woman for like 7 years. And I was constantly dropping gems on her and giving her advice because I was thinking that these things, she would, number one, see it by example. And then number two, she would, listen. And I don't mind saying this publicly. Once she called me from the emergency room and said she contracted something, when I have been speaking life into you for 7 years, I have been waking up in the middle of the night and listening to your tears. I have went on an emotional roller coaster with you for 7 years. You continuously make the same bad decision, and then I promise you, I listened for those 30 minutes. And I was a villain for 7 years. I don't need another mama. I don't need this, that, and the third. I'm coming to you as a friend. I listened to that conversation for about 30 minutes. I didn't say I told you so. I didn't beat her up about it, but I stopped answering my phone.
Boundaries. That's that masculine energy that kicked in. You know what? This ain't right for me. This is not good energy.
Yeah, sometimes you have.
What about you, mother?
Well, I kind of spoke on like some of the things, that I used to be down with toxic femininity that wasn't right, messing with if you pissed me off or I'm gonna go get you mad, all that kind of stuff. And I had a group of friends like that was encouraging me to do that. And so, I had been, and it's been a growth process. I used to be down with everything. I was the chick, if your man messed up, oh, Kyle Megan, like she gonna show up in all black, and y'all can ride out together. Like that was me. Like I'm riding,
black hoodie, black hoodie battalion.
I'm okay. Dressed in all black. That's how we. Oh, you need me to call him? Oh, you need me to call him from a black? You need me to call him from somebody else's number? Oh, I got you. I was into like all of those things. But again, I grew up around a lot of that stuff, so I thought there was a part of me that really thought that was normal, and that really thought that it was okay. And so that's why I would go along, with all of those things. And no, I didn't hold any of my friends. I did at the time, and mind you, this is college, this is like younger 20s. I didn't hold any of my friends accountable. I was down with whatever foolishness, they brought to me. I was like, oh girl, yeah, you all.
I was happy to have friends. Shoot, I didn't have any. We moved around a lot. So when I met my girlfriends from college, like that felt like home. I was like, this like-minded people. We're in the same groups. We're trying to get our education. Man, we feeling ourselves as feeling ourselves. Okay, we looking good. We smart. We all of that. And so, shout out to the HBCUs.
Right.
So I feel like in my 20s, absolutely, I did not keep my girlfriends accountable like that because I was still figuring out my way. I didn't know really, what's bad and what's good, but sometimes you don't speak up necessarily.
You don't.
So that is an issue when you're young. The bigger issue to me is carrying that over to your 30s and you still in the cycle of what you still on the same Negro from 10 years ago that done whooped you, slapped you. We still talking to the same people.
They giving these young girls bad advice. The young girls, like that. I hate that they do that. Like y'all, because you would think a woman of a certain age, oh, she's got some experience, she's got some wisdom. And sadly, I know I got some 60-year-old family members that's still on that foolishness.
Still
trying to ride out and all that type of stuff. So it really has to be a growth. And I think people have to realize age doesn't equal maturity. So you have to watch too who you're getting advice from. If you see this woman, you might respect her, she might be good financially, whatever. Look at her pattern. If she's never been married, she's been divorced 4 or 5 times, why? And I'm not saying that, yes, she might not have wisdom about some things, but if you see that she doesn't have the best background, the best track record with men and that kind of stuff, why are you seeking advice from her? And especially if she's giving you this toxic advice, just because she's older, just because you respect her as a family member, don't mean that you have to take take the advice that she's giving out. Or the advice that she's putting out, and like you said, village is very important. I just called Sean, we just talked last week about an issue, and I called her straight up like, hey sis, I need a perspective I need an objective perspective on something. And it's important to have those people. I literally text her, sis, you busy, and literally 10-15 minutes later, she called me. So it's important, and she was busy doing family stuff. And I mean, that made me feel good, as a friend, as a sister, she's usually leaving from one family event, going to the next location. But the fact that she made time, and all of that busyness, to talk to me and figure out what it was that I needed, to me, that's so volumes. And it's important. And she gave me, some really good advice, because sometimes we need to hear stuff from a different perspective. We get in our feelings, and when you in the situation, sometimes we need to hear, oh, sis, you're doing too much. That ain't right. Pull it back, and so it's important to be able to have other women and other people in your circle that's going to give you sound advice, and they're not going to be telling you to ride out and this, that, and the third. Because I think an element
let me commend you for calling, because some people will sit in their stuff and then it will create, I always say, if you keep sweeping stuff under the rug, eventually you're going to trip over that. Okay, so everything, and it'll pile up, and then when you lift back everything, now all of the things you did from 2002 is coming up because you did not express yourself throughout that time. So kudos to you for like getting an outside opinion that is not. Snuggles was asking like, well, how do you differentiate? One, I'm never gonna tell a woman to leave her husband, especially if it's just a spat going on. I'm not gonna say you need to. I mean, I do see that women are in these groups. You need to. He told you about your health or something like that. You need to leave that man, ma'am. Is your knees hurting? You know, are you breathing hard? Like maybe you do need to take the time and listen to this man. And because he cares about you and wants to better your health, it is not from looks per se, but men are visual. So that's another topic. But what I will say, I do feel like we do hold women accountable within the right circles. Everybody doesn't have the tribe. Everybody doesn't have the circle. So expecting what me and Mova have or me and Niambi can have may not be the same as when you go to these outer skirts. I don't know how we impact the macro economics of Black women when it comes to accountability, but I do think it starts from a micro level, from us individually connecting each other and having these dialogues or being in these groups and sharing perspectives. Some women are just going to be in a space of unhealed. They are unhealed. Okay. Yep. And I feel like it's a self-realization, because this woman on her platform a year later, because I want to bring it full circle, a year later, she was saying how she's still single, but she doesn't feel bad about being single. That's growth. She feels more confident. She's working on herself. She's trying to get her kid. She's trying to, she's trying to better herself. She was a better person outside of the relationship. So she let that go. Like she just did a nice 180 for herself, but it came from like really assessing who she was. And that is a self-reflection. Some people don't want to look in the mirror. Some people, and I say this all the time, some women do not know who they are outside of their pain because that is their identity. And so if you can't be accountable until you are ready to shed whatever hurt or pain or unhealed place that you've experienced, you don't even know who you can be. So,
we had a question in there, I think from Black Man Unfiltered. And, he said, if women don't listen to, I can't remember the exact, if you put it up again, I can speak more on it. But if women don't listen to their friends and they don't listen to their man, at this point, so if Black women don't listen to each other and they don't listen to their men, who do they listen to? So I'm going to say this, and this is at the place I am in my life, is that along this path, we have all been learning. We have all been learning. We have all made the wrong decision somewhere. I don't care if it was, the parent that you picked, or deciding to post your issues on Facebook, or there's a wide spectrum of where we picked wrong, where we displayed some wrong, where we lived some wrong, but I feel like at this point in my life, I am experiencing everything. So it's not about listening, because how many people have listened to and I'm gonna take it there because this is where I am, and this is coming from this place. How many people have listened to a pastor, and then you find out he got outside kids that they just hid? How many people have listened to a older woman, and you find out she been sleeping with Miss, such and such husband for years? At this point in my life, I am going to hear everything. I'm going to experience everything in that moment. And then I'm going to take away from that what I should do with what I feel is right. So yes, we have all lived in that era in our life. So everybody has an era. Everybody at the whole stage. Everybody, men too. Everybody had the okay, I'm going to be celibate stage. Everybody had the okay, now I'm going to be in a relationship. I feel like everybody has had all of these stages. What you are listening to right now is mature women who have worked through issues, have realized that I wasn't so good. And now I'm deciding that I'm going to go the right way, which is my way. It doesn't have to be your way. I don't have to listen to you. At some point you listen to your parents, and then you went out into the world, and guess what? All that shit blew up. It did.
Go to school, get a good job. That's one of them.
The whole thing. It's like we were listening to, okay, so I want to say this, and I want you all to understand where I'm coming from. And I said this, I will probably say this until you all know me on any platform. I haven't been to church since I was 18 years old. I am not Christian. But because that was my base, I follow the Bible, the part I want to follow. And that's controversial, and I know it might blow up in the comments, but that's me. Okay. So when I say this, I'm sticking to the point that there's the most controversial scripture in the Bible is, do not boil the baby goat in the mother's milk. So if you look at it on literal, which I now understand on a spiritual level, is we are taught by people who know a limited mindset. And so they were just learning. They were just living. You don't mature until you come out of that. And then you finally figure out what your meaning and your purpose on earth is. Why did you touch down? You're going to get, if you don't know it now, you will eventually get there. So listening to my parents, fortunately, the double-edged sword here, I was raised by my grandmother. So you know what my grandmother taught me? Go find your husband. Okay. And then I pretended, because I was a rebel, I pretended this is who I'm gonna marry, so we're gonna be together. And then as soon as I got out of the house, because that was all it was about, was getting up out this house, because she was strict. And once I got out, I was like, I don't want to be with this man for the rest of my life. So when it comes back to going right back to who do we listen to? Everybody has to get their own level of maturity. And a lot of the problems that we have, or we're speaking on, or have spoken on, are things of the past. And so now what we need to do is, one of the solutions is, okay, now go teach your children. Live, experience, explore, be in the moment. Tap into your your divine feminine and masculine. Don't emasculate your man. Show them how to be good women and upstanding, because we know now.
Right. We're gonna go ahead and bring up Brianna or Bree. Hello.
Am I muted? Hey,
Brianna. I'm sorry, since I have to leave, I'm gonna see y'all next week. You know, we got all these kids, so our 17-year-old and his team is participating in the state football championship here in Dallas. So we get ready to go head over to Cowboy Stadium. So wish us luck. I'll let y'all know next week if we got that state championship ring. But much love to all of y'all. It was a really great discussion, and I look forward. I'm gonna try to keep up in the comments, but I look forward to seeing all y'all next week.
All right, Mother. You take care. Y'all be safe.
All right. See y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, Bree. Come on in. Welcome.
Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Bree.
Yes.
I'm in the homeschool room, so just all this back here is very colorful. Let's see. But I'm just trying to make sure you can hear me. It's a little loud in the back.
We can hear you very clear.
Oh, okay.
What's your perspective on accountability with Black women?
Well, I think that a lot of people forget when you talk about accountability and like your circle of friends that are supposed to hold you accountable. It's generally one of those things where I think with friendships, there's this natural, you're drawn to people who are kind of where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, like as you grow and change and evolve, you leave friends behind who no longer fit. So if that's true, then usually I think most of the time, like my friends, my immediate circle of friends typically are the same as me on some level. So I think sometimes the lack of accountability is just because there's a blind spot there. Like your circle of friends just don't know what you don't know. And typically it takes people outside of you, or you see someone else doing better to even realize that you're not functioning at a certain level. So I think if you look at a circle of friends and say, oh, they don't hold their girlfriend accountable, then you have to factor in that they just may all be at the same level.
Right.
I was saying earlier, I'm in a Black moms Facebook group, and I see that all the time. Like some of us who have been through situations, some women come there and say, oh, my baby daddy did this, is this right? And we'll come there, girl, you tripping.
Right.
Like you doing the most. But there's some women who are very close to that same trauma or like at the same point in that can't see. They just feel like we're wrong. We don't, so I just think it's just people who are closer to the trauma as far as like when it happened, or it's just really hard for them to hold someone accountable. So I think it's not really fair to say, well, it doesn't matter what you're doing. What about on this level? Because you just have to realize that.
Right. I definitely agree with that, because honestly, who am I to tell somebody I don't know or I have a connection with, like where they're short at, unless we have some kind of relationship or whatever. Now, sometimes you can, if it's, if women are open and you can ask, like, I'm always like, do you mind if I share something with you? Like there's a way to communicate sometimes with people. And I think communication is a big key of that, because you want to be able to be heard and you want to be able to share your points and all of that good stuff. But you also want to make sure that you're listening. And a lot of time with women, we get the bad rap of not listening in a way to people who really care, to be honest. Like they don't want you out there, or either they've already experienced those things, so they're trying to help you avoid a situation, and you have to have discernment. You have to have understanding of self before you can even take that knowledge in, because everybody's not going to be there. So I do feel like we do hold each other accountable, but we can't account for every woman who chooses not to be accountable. Like we can't speak for every woman. We can only do things in our micro levels, and things like this, like having this platform, talking to women and sharing that knowledge with them is another way for us to get the word out on how we can build this community virtually or even in person, because things can come up. We have events and we can share. A lot of people have, different platforms where they're sharing things. Some of them are dragging, some of them are pick me, some that term people love. That was another one, the pick me crew. And I think it depends on where you're at in life. Like where are you at in life? And like Niambi was saying, like we have different stages. You're not going to catch me doing what I was doing 10 years ago. You're not even going to catch me a year or two ago. Okay. Right. Doing what I was doing, because we're constantly evolving. I would also say that I lost my train of thought for a moment. Chime in, Niambi.
I want to speak to Snuggle. Snuggle said there was something like, if your fathers were in your life, would it have been better if they were there to help you in the vetting process? And if so, would you recommend that for most young women? Okay, so me being 19 and my parents saying, find your husband, and they met him. They vetted him. My grandmother said out her mouth, that's your husband. Because he dressed it up, and throughout the duration of our process of being together, he signed over his check to me, and that's when she made it official. Yep, that's him. Because that's all they required in those days is that the man provides.
Right.
Right.
But
that's it.
What they didn't know is, and I won't say abusive, I'll say we was in a domestically violent situation. Because they didn't know that until one day I had to finally defend myself harshly. I'll keep it like that. Okay. And they was like, oh, whoa, wait, what happened? He dressed it up and made it look nice for them. And I didn't find out until 7 years later he was running from the marshals. They went to his job and arrested him. So, no. So if I was to take a stance right now, I don't believe, and this is me, and I'm not putting this on anybody else, and I'm not saying teach this to anybody. A 19-year-old woman should not be married. She should live a little bit and experience some things a little bit.
I agree.
Hopefully responsibly, but I don't think the parents have anything to do with the children once they're out of the home.
Okay, that's a dip. Well,
and I mean it like in this regard, just be a parent. And I get this from my grandmother, because my grandmother, once we was out of the home, she didn't inject herself into our lives. When we came crying and wanted to come back home, and I didn't do that for years, but when we came crying and she listened, okay, all right. She helped whenever she had to. A parent. Now, I'm not saying what to do with your children. I'm saying the what I had was, I went and cried on the shoulder. I went and slept in the bed. I got my back rubbed like a baby. And I went back out and I took my bumps and bruises like a woman. There should be, and this is just my opinion, there should be no vetting and trying to figure out who is best for your child.
I think
yes, go ahead, Bree.
I think that my cat is trying to like be on the screen right now. But I think that it depends on the dad, because like my dad was in my life. My parents were divorced most of my life. Sorry.
Hey, cat.
It's a beautiful cat. I'm allergic, but it's a beautiful. I like looking at it.
No.
But between my dad, he was in my life. We had a good relationship. We still do. But my dad, as far as, I wouldn't listen to anything he said, because I told my dad this, like, you were trash. My dad had like 3 girlfriends at all times. He was a dope boy. He was pushing bricks. That was the family business. So yeah, if just because he was my father did not make him qualified to vet anyone for me. If anything, he just made me be like, I don't want to be with someone like you. So if that counts as vetting, then yes. But just because he is a father that was my mom. That doesn't mean that he's qualified to vet anybody. Because if my dad was like, pick him, I would have literally done the opposite. And I still do the opposite of what he tells me to this day. Which is why
doesn't work out for you, Bree, when you do that, when you like
well, we have we love the art of debate. Like he raised us to like that. He always raised us to never just like, oh, just because I'm this doesn't mean that, you should listen to me. He raised us that. Like, he was just like, people don't, to keep me safe as a young woman, he felt like actually that was something he wanted me to have. He wanted me to question, not necessarily authority, but he wanted to always question why I believed what I believed and why I was doing what I was doing. So if there ever was a point where that meant that I didn't agree with him, right away, I mean, this is in my adult years, like once I became older and we could sit down and have a conversation. He never stopped me from having a debate with him. So yeah, a lot of times he'd be like, do this. And I'm like, nah. Like he was a Jehovah's Witness, and he was like, this is the way you should go. If you should live your life. Absolutely not. And I literally did the opposite of what he told me to do. And I became a Wiccan for a while. But I'm like, I got saved eventually. I came back around.
You came back, but you explored.
Yeah, because he was so like, you need to do this. I was like, let me go do the opposite. And literally my brother did the same thing. Right. So we just kind of always did the opposite of whatever he said because we felt like he was such a bad example of what a man was. But we still love him. But no, I don't think just because you're a father and you have kids and you're in their life, you're automatically qualified to vet for them. No.
I will say, in my experience, I didn't meet my biological father until I was in my late 20s. So he was an absent father and into drugs, thievery, things like that. He wasn't a great man. I met him kind of on the tail end of his life. And we developed a really great relationship that allowed me to heal. I will say that with that interaction with my dad, which I still say he was my dad. You know, at the end of the day, I still claim him even though he wasn't there because I had an opportunity to heal with that relationship. And because I know who I was as a woman, I kind of know what kind of man that I wanted in a way. Like I kind of wanted somebody who was consistent because consistency was something that I hadn't seen in my life. And my husband is very, very consistent. He's very even. He's just, you know, he's just a good guy. And so when my biological father met him, he was like, he all right, you know, like, and it didn't matter. We already together. We married. He ain't going nowhere.
Right.
But I don't think that if he was in my life, I don't think he would have made me better. I'm actually glad he wasn't there because he had so much drama in his life going on. I feel like that could have impacted me in a negative way, me seeing that. The void was bad enough, but imagine having a man in your life who is in and out, inconsistent, on drugs, stealing your money.
Oh yeah, that was me. I mean,
women, like all of that. And I'm glad I didn't experience him long term. Like my mom did a good job with not like dragging him. And so when I was able to meet him, I was able to like heal that inner child. And so I would say that, you know, I can welcome people's opinion, but it's my choice. And I would allot that to my daughter because I want to make sure that she has the values to kind of discern. Like I feel like I can guide, but you're going to make these decisions. When you get into marriage, it's just y'all two.
Right.
So what I think or what other people think don't even matter. And that's how I would tell her, because at the end of the day, you could have two parties coming in. What is it? Our Kind of People. Y'all watch that show. Okay. And so they have these two family dynamics who are like bickering and fighting for money and all of this kind of stuff. It is going to be between those people and figure out like what you all want to do. You're supposed to the Bible talk about leave to cleave. So when you go into that marriage, it don't even matter, you know, what other people are saying. You can vet them, but it's still that person's choice if they want to move forward. You can take your money away out the wedding pot, but that's about it. You know, like you are going to try to control them with money, but at the end of the day, like it is that person's choice. And hopefully you've instilled in all of those qualities that she's supposed to have. So she or he can make a decision on a wife or a husband when it comes to that point in time, because as a parent, you have to release too, because they have to go live their lives.
Can I just add that?
Sure.
Like he loves my husband. Like he loved him from when he was just like, he's great. But I think it wasn't that my dad was wrong. I think somebody asked like, no, my dad wouldn't tell me to be with someone who was in the life he was in. But I think my dad also had the wisdom to realize that because I had seen so much of what he had done wrong, that if he tried to push me towards my now husband, I would have just done the opposite. So I think my father was wise in the sense of like, okay, I really like this one. Let me not say too much.
Let me be quiet.
She's just gonna go the other way. So it's not that I don't think that. No, I understand my dad was wise and he would never purposely lead me to someone like him. But I think he also realized that he wasn't perfect. So I think he understood that at that point, he just needed to be honest with me and show me what a bad guy looks like. Like I'm a bad dude. Look at me. But then also realizing he couldn't turn around and then try to be like, this is what a good, like I think he just understood the limitations of my perspective And so he respected that, and he did what needed to be done. He just left me alone. And now he tells me, he's like, yeah, I knew that was gonna be your husband, and he's a good guy. And I was like, I'm glad you didn't say nothing, because I would have left him. I would have left him. So yeah, he's a wife.
That's great. That's great.
There was a question that I wanted to address.
Sure.
I forgot. I think it was Snuggles. And said something about, what did your father teach you? And my father was present. I lived with my paternal grandmother, so his mother, and starting out in life, and that's why I come to starting out in my life. That's why I come to, and I have this as a standing point of view, which is, everybody is learning, everybody evolves, everybody. I have that as a standing view, because when I was born, he was on drugs. And about 14, so I dealt with everything you could think of: overdosing, going to jail, car accidents, disfiguring his face, him getting his throat slashed. They called him his name was Sylvester, and much props and honor to my father. They called him Sylvester, but they called him Sylvester the Cat 9 lives. 9 lives, because he literally lived beyond everything that happened to him on his own, because of his fault. But he evolved. So at 14, he straightened his life up, and he got a $150,000 job, and he got a house built from the ground up, and he evolved. But what did he tell me when it came to, because right around that age, 14, 16, what did he tell me then? By the results of what I seen his whole life being, he told me, if you meet a man that does not treat you like me and your 4 brothers, don't even look at him. And what I mean by that is, even though he was out on drugs and he did all this, he still provided he still provided. He was the first man to buy me roses. He was the first man to, even in his messed up life, he still showed me how to be a woman. He still disciplined me when I did things. I mean, even he'd be drunk and disciplining me on the right thing, So that was my experience with my father, is that once he, even in his he said to me one day when he straightened up, he said, even when I was bad, I was good at it. So he said to me, if a man does not treat you like me and your brothers, you don't want him. And him being a provider, and him, I think I mentioned this on, he was a no nonsense guy. He had no, I never heard of I'm sorry from him. I never heard of, and I love you came, maybe he died at 47, maybe 3 times, but I can see his femininity, which is what we spoke about earlier, in actions.
Right.
What he did. It wasn't about, I didn't even know he felt anything until he showed me by an action. I remember one time, I was a big young girl, and I lost all this weight, and I started to look exactly like my mother. And you can tell the rage that was building up in him. And when the very first time he really put his hands on me as a young adult, we were sitting in that room, and he like slapped me and all around and stuff. And I was like, what the hell? I cried overnight. My grandmother was sitting there patting me, and she called him and cursed him out. And I ain't mean to, report to you, and you was going to do that to her. I didn't know he was sorry until he came in the house with a 5-disc CD changer.
That was his apology.
That was his apology. He didn't say, I'm sorry. I love you so much, and it hurt me more than it hurt you. So just having the relationship that we had, and understanding what he told me at the end of it, if a man is not treating you, and that was a situation that had never happened before and it never happened again. But if a man is not treating you like a woman, like I said, he was the first man to buy me roses. He bought my first diamond. He bought my first pair of real earrings. He just poured into me, even if he couldn't do it emotionally. He did it, with things
monetarily.
Yeah.
So I would say, just to really, Lance, really.
What Lance say? Leave it up there for a second.
Women.
Don't come for him. I get what he's trying to say. I get what he's trying to say. She's like, what?
I can't let.
He's such a he speaks in prose. He speaks in prose.
I know that ain't Lance.
Lance and I had to compare us to yeast.
Okay.
Yeah, we sensitive about that word, Lance. You could have picked something else though.
All right. I'm gonna get you on the show where you actually on the panel. I'm gonna get you for that one. I'm gonna write this. Let me write this down.
I get what he's saying though. Like they need each other. We need each other.
Well, and that's the thing.
We're gonna go ahead and close it out, and I want to thank every woman who came on the panel today. Bree, Nambi, I appreciate you coming. I think we have so much more to talk about, especially in the realm of fathers and mother, that dynamic of parents and, what it means having each in your life, whether they're good or bad, and those repercussions of them being there. And we can definitely deep dive into that. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming to, wind down with us. And we're just going to close it out. And I think maybe next Saturday at the same time that we'll touch base, before you go out and have the rest of your day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're just going to close it out and just say thank you all for coming. And y'all have a good weekend. Happy holidays.